All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get started. So today we will be applying what we learned from last class to various genetic problems and try to solve them. A majority of quiz number 4 will be based on these genetic problems that we'll be learning today. Okay. Um, like I said, it's quiz 4. There are no meiosis on it, right? We'll save the theory for the last test. It will mostly be problem solving based for quiz number 4. I'll give you more information on that um, early next week. So much of what we will be learning today is based off of the work of this person. His name was Gregor Mendel. People often call him the father of genetics because of the work he did on peat plants, which laid the foundation of the understanding of how genes are passed on from one generation to the next generation. Before we get started with the material, I have some terminologies here, some of which you already know, and we're just going to review it. And then there are some new ones as well. So as you know, you should know by now, a gene is a segment on the DNA that contains the instruction to make proteins. Right? And in fact, you learn how to decode the DNA and change it into proteins. We have the codon sheet, the blue sheet that I gave you, and you can convert the ACTGs into the respective amino acids. Right? So the gene is found on the chromosome, and on each chromosome, there are multiple genes that exist. Now, we might have a gene for eye color. I keep on using that example because it's easy for most people to visualize. But not everybody's going to have the same eye color, which means there are multiple versions of that gene that exist in the population. For example, we might have the big B version, which gives you brown eyes. And we will have the small b version, which would give you blue eyes. Okay, so these different versions of the gene is called allele. Allele. Some genes have multiple alleles in the population. If you take the ABO blood group, for example, there are 3 alleles that exist in the population. Even though there are multiple alleles that exist in the population, at most, you can only have 2 alleles in your genes, okay? Because we are diploid, we only have 2 sets of chromosomes. So at most, you can have up to 2 different alleles for a particular gene. Now, do they have to be, bless you, do they have to be different allele? Not necessarily. It depends on who your parents are and what you inherit from them. So for example, if we look at the eye color alleles here, a person might be big B, big B. Both the parents have brown eyes, for example, and then they inherit a big B allele from each parent. And so their genetic makeup is big B, big B. Because the alleles are the same, we say they are homozygous or pure for this particular gene. Okay? Homozygous means the 2 alleles are the same. Similarly, you can have, I'll write it here, okay? Big B, big B. Similarly, a person can inherit small b from one parent and then other small b from another parent, and they would be homozygous blue eyes. Okay? So big B is homozygous brown eyes, or you can say pure brown eyes. And then small b is homozygous blue eyes, okay? Or pure blue eyes. Does that make sense? So if someone is big B, small b, if they inherit a big B from one parent and then a small b from another parent, then the alleles are not the same. And for that gene, we say they are heterozygous, okay, or hybrid. So homozygous and pure means they're the same. Heterozygous and hybrid means they are different. Okay. Now, I'm sure you can understand this is a brown-eyed person and this is a blue-eyed person. But what if you have one of each, right? What color will their eyes be? Can be one brown, one blue, right? Although that can happen in some cases. Some people have one green eye and one blue eye. That's called heterochromia. It's an actual condition, but generally speaking, right, people have same eye color, right? So which is it? Is it going to be brown eye or is it going to be blue eye? Well, we're going to answer that in a second. Just, keep that in mind. So here we have two chromosomes. We have the pink one on top, which I usually use to represent the mother chromosome. And then we have the blue one at the bottom, which is the father chromosome. What's the relationship between the pink and the blue? What's the term I'm looking for? Bettina? I thought you had it. I saw you. So what is it? Homologous. That's right. Homologous. So homologous chromosomes are chromosomes that are same length, same size, and they contain the same same type of genetic information. Okay. So if it's gene B here, you would find gene B at the same location. Okay. If you find gene F here, you will also find gene F in the other chromosome at the same locus. Locus is the term we use for the location of the gene, right? Okay. So think of it as like two books, right? Two textbooks. They are perhaps different versions, but if you find H on page 623, you will also find H on page 623. Right? That's basically what the locus is, like the page number. All right. So can someone tell me which gene is homozygous for this person? Just yell them out if you see. Which gene would be homozygous? What's that? L, okay? So L is homozygous because it's little l and little l, right? Okay. Another homozygous gene, please. D is homozygous. I heard O is homozygous. So basically, if they're the same, then it's homozygous, okay? If they are not the same, then they are heterozygous. That's heterozygous. That's heterozygous. So on and so forth, right? Whether you are, and this is a key point, okay? Whether you are homozygous or not on one gene has no effect on whether you're homozygous on another gene, okay? It all depends on which allele you inherited from each of your parents, okay? One thing has nothing to do with the other. Do you understand? Okay. More terminology. A character is a heritable feature. It's something that can be passed from one generation to the next generation. Okay. Flower color is an example of a character. Right. These kind of heredity stuff is not only applicable to humans, but to plants as well, right? So what's a character in you that can pass on to the future generation besides eye color? Think of something else, some feature about you that's considered as a character, something that can be passed on. Give me an example. Hair type, that's right. Is it curly hair? Is it straight hair, right? Okay. Now, you got to understand, not everything about you can necessarily be passed on to the next generation, okay? If you dye your hair purple, your baby's not going to born with purple hair, right? If you work out a lot and you become very muscular, your kid's not going to necessarily grow up to be muscular either, right? Okay? So these things that you do in your life that changes your body, those are called acquired characters, okay? Not characters, sorry, acquired features, okay? Acquired features, I'll spell it for you. Okay, so acquired features are not heritable. You cannot pass those on because they don't have a genetic basis. Okay? So characters are things that have a genetic basis. They are ingrained in the genes, okay? Like the eye colors, like the hair type, and so on and so forth. Now, each character might have different traits. Okay? Traits would be a variant of the character. If we're talking about flower color, we have purple flower, white flower. If we're talking about eye color, we have brown eyes, blue eyes, right? So the character is as a result of the gene. And the various trait that you have for the character is as a result of the alleles. Do you understand that? The gene, one more time, the gene gives the gene gives you the character. Okay? But there are different characters which are as a result of the alleles that you have. It's coming to no? Okay. Sure. So why do we have brown eyes? Okay. So brown eyes is caused by the eye color gene. Okay. Eye color is caused by the eye color gene. Okay. But why do you have brown eyes or blue eyes? Well, the gene actually makes a protein, which is a pigment called melanin. Some of you might have heard about it, right? So the more melanin you make, the darker the eye color and skin color, hair color is going to be, right? So the allele would be how much of the melanin you make, okay? And that would result in different versions of that character, okay? If you get confused with character and trait, don't worry about it. I don't think I ever asked you that, but you must understand gene and allele for you to get the rest of the class. Everybody okay with gene and allele? I have more examples for you. Yeah.
So it's gene depends on gene.
Okay, gene. There are different genes, right? There are genes for hair eye colors, genes for type of earlobe, so on and so forth. Each gene has different versions, right? So those different versions is called allele, right? Let me try to give you an analogy. Maybe I don't know. Sometimes this works, sometimes this doesn't work. But think of, before Spotify and MP3s and all that, we listen to CDs, right? Okay, we buy CDs, albums. Okay, so how do you store CDs? You have a CD rack, right? You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, probably, right? Oops, that doesn't work. Hold on. So I remember when I was a teen, in my room, I would have a CD rack, 2 racks. Okay, and then the CD rack has slots for you to put CDs on, right? Okay, so over here at this slot, at this level, okay, you're gonna have, I don't know, what kind of artist do you guys know? Say it was Lady Gaga or something. She didn't exist back then, but whatever, okay? So let's say Lady Gaga, okay? And Lady Gaga has many albums, right? Right? Many alleles, so to speak. But because I only have 2 slots, doesn't matter. There are 60 different CDs out there. I can only buy 2, right? And then I will put it in here. Okay. And if I really like that, like if I buy a CD and then someone else, bought the same CD for me, then I will have 2 of the same in the same slot. Do you understand? Okay. Or they could be different, right? Yeah. And then over here, we would have another artist. I don't know, like Backstreet Boys or something. I don't know if you know who they are. But they were really hit when I was in high school. So then you will have another 2 albums, right? So these are like genes, okay? Each level is for a different gene. And then what album you put in it is like the alleles. Does that make sense? That's right. But I cannot put the Lady Gaga album into the Backstreet Boys because it's not the same information, right? Right. The CD I put in it has to match the artist. Okay. So I cannot put an eye color gene, brown eyes, into a blood type slot. Blood type slot is reserved for blood type allele. Do you guys understand that? Yeah. Okay, so here is the thing, right? When we do meiosis, when we have the crossing over, what we do essentially is to take the CDs and then swap them at random places. So at the end, you would end up with a stack that's different compared to the original. And that's the stack that you pass on to the next generation. Okay, so what we were talking about last class We don't need this. Let's delete that. What we were talking about last class is, you're going to exchange some of these alleles, right? I mean, if they're homozygous, then after you change it, it doesn't make a difference. But if they're heterozygous, then it's going to be different, right? So in the end, you're going to have like a mix of mix of red and blue, right, on each one, and then you pass it. Are we sort of better now? Okay. So back to our question, right? If someone is big B, small b, are they brown eyes or are they blue eyes, right? Well, to answer that question, we have to understand the relationship between dominant trait versus recessive traits. In many cases, some alleles will always cover up other alleles. Okay, so the allele that covers up other alleles, we call that the dominant allele, which creates a dominant trait. In this case, brown eyes is going to be dominant, which means if you inherit a brown eye allele and a blue eye allele, the person is going to have brown eyes. Okay. In terms of the biology, it's not too difficult to understand, right? I told you eye colors, like skin color and hair color, is caused by this pigment called melanin. So you either make it or you don't make it. So if you have the big B that makes it, then that's going to cover up the small b, right? You're going to end up having a darker eye color, right? So that's a dominant trait. Recessive trait are represented with the lowercase letter, and it's only going to show up if the dominant allele is not there. So the only way for a person to have blue eyes would be small b, small b. But there are two ways to have brown eyes. You can be big B, small b, or what's the other option? Big B, right? Okay. So if I see that you have brown eyes, I think all of us do here. Okay, I don't see anybody with blue eyes. Okay, if you're wearing contact lenses to hide your blue eyes, let me know. Okay, but we all kind of have like dark brown eyes. I don't know if you are big B or big B small b, right? It could be either one, right? You could be homozygous or heterozygous. However, if I see someone with blue eyes, then I know for certain they are small b, small b. Okay? Yeah.
For the baby and the small baby, does that mean like one parent has brown eyes and one parent has blue eyes?
That's a great question. Short answer is not necessarily, and then you're gonna understand why in a bit. Okay, so just hold on. It's fine. Okay, so here are a bunch of traits that are dominant versus recessive in humans. Okay, and this is usually quite fun for you to think about in terms of your family. Okay, so who can roll their tongue? Anyone roll the tongue? Nobody? Okay, yeah. So okay, so we have two. Excellent, thank you for demonstrating. So we have two people who are able to roll the tongue, but without studying your family history, I don't know if you are big R for rolling, big R for rolling, or big R, small r, right? Okay. However, I cannot roll my tongue. And if you cannot roll your tongue either, then for sure you are going to be small r, right? Okay. So if you cannot roll your tongue, you are definitely small r. And if your spouse cannot roll the tongue, then they are small r as well. And if you guys have babies, then the whole family will not be able to roll their tongue, right? Because you can only pass on the small r, your spouse can only pass on the small r, whole family is going to be homozygous small r. You understand? Okay. Now, if there are exceptions, okay, these rule are not like 100%. Okay, so like if you cannot roll the tongue and your spouse cannot roll the tongue, and then you have a kid that can roll the tongue, don't go divorce your spouse. Okay, there are exceptions, right? Because of the concept of penetrance that we talk about, right? Okay, but generally speaking, right? So freckles. If you don't have freckles, and then your spouse don't have freckles, then again, whole family will have no freckles, right? This would be like little f. This would be like big F, or big F, small f. You understand? We use the letter of the dominant trait to represent the allele. Okay? We never use two different letters for the dominant and the recessive trait. That's where people get it wrong on the quiz all the time. Okay? You cannot use W for Widow's peak and then use S for straight. Okay? The correct way to do it will be capital W for Widow's peak, like the hairline, or small w for straight hairline. Understand? Okay, for those of you who are single and you like a particular feature of yourself and it happens to be a recessive trait and you want your kids to have the same trait, all you have to do is find someone who shares that same trait and then your kid will also have it. Okay? So if you really like attached earlobes as opposed to the dangling ones, then you find someone else who does. Okay? And then your kids will all have attached earlobes. Do you guys understand? Fantastic. Okay, so there is one more that is not on this page, but I always love talking about it because people don't know about it. If you have 5 fingers, that's actually recessive. Okay, but if you have 6 fingers, that's actually dominant. Okay, so if you have 5 fingers and you like your 5 fingers, you have to find someone who also have 5 fingers to marry. But then you gotta check, right? Were you born with 5 fingers, or like did you cut it off and not let people know? Because most people who have 6 fingers, they will cut it off. Okay, it's not like usually it's not like a full 6 fingers. Okay, it's usually like a little appendage, and it's caused by a mutation in a gene that's called the Sonic Hedgehog gene. Okay, like the cartoon character, which interferes with development, and they have an extra finger sometimes extra toe. Okay, my mother's cousin was born with an extra finger. Okay, and then they cut it off, and he's fine. It's like totally normal. Okay, even if you don't cut it off, he's gonna be normal. But then it's weird, right? Like how do you put gloves on, right? So, there's that. Okay, it's called polydactyly. If you're interested, you can look that up. Okay, moving on. Genotype. Genotype is referring to the genetic makeup of the person. So once again, if we use let's use something different. Let's say we use the freckle example. The genotype would be, are you big F, big F, small f, or small f, small f? What is your genetic makeup? Okay. The phenotype would be the manifestation of the genotype. Right? It will be the appearance of the individual. So if you're big F, then you have freckles, right? If you're big F, small f, you also have freckles. Freckles, okay? And then this one would be no freckles. All right? And here is the important point that I have been trying to get across. Two people with the same phenotype does not necessarily have the same genotype. Okay, you should definitely write that down. Okay, people with the same phenotype does not necessarily have the same genotype. Okay, unless it is a recessive trait. Might not have the same genotype. Kind of sad, despite my sincere warning on Monday that you guys should come to class on Wednesday. We're still missing a lot of people. But you guys are here, so that's good. Okay. Hopefully it'll make more sense when you listen to it live. Okay. Now we're gonna go and talk about Mendel's experiment. He's the fathers of genetics, right? People call him. So he worked with peat plants. Peat plants. We are familiar with peats. When we eat peats, usually we buy them frozen, and usually they are green color, right? Okay. But it turns out there are yellow ones as well. Okay? So he worked with peat plants because number one, it was accessible. It's easy to get them back in the days. Number two is cheap. Number three is easy to breed them. And number four, they reproduce quickly. So he can easily decide which plants to breed, to cross, to have offsprings, and then he can observe many generations in a short period of time. Okay? So you can do things to plants that you won't be able to do to humans, right? Because of ethical concerns. All right, so that was a perfect choice for him to study genetics. Okay? So he discovered in pea plants there are some traits that are dominant, and then there are some traits that are recessive. Okay, so I'm gonna explain one of his experiments to you. Actually, there is one more slide. I always forget about this. He has two laws. One law is called the law of segregation. Let me read it to you first, and then I will explain. During the formation of gametes, each gene separates from each other so that each gamete carries only one allele for each gene. So what does that mean? Right? Well, all that means is if, let's say, you have big B on one chromosome and small b on the other chromosome, when you produce the gametes, these chromosomes, as you know, will separate from each other, right? In anaphase, and one gamete, sperm or egg, will carry the small b, and then the other will carry the big B. Okay, so even though you have two alleles, you cannot pass both of them to your future generation. You can only pass one of them. So the fact that the alleles separate from each other, right? The separation, another word for that is segregation. That's what this law means. Okay. What if you are big B, big B? Then what can you pass on to the next generation? Yeah, so like you would only be able to pass on big B, right? Okay, so even though you separate it, but all the gametes will contain the big B. All right. Okay. So now we're gonna do this thing on the note here. Now, when he did this experiment, he didn't know round is dominant over wrinkle. Right? So there are two kinds of seed. Round one, which are again are the ones that we buy from the frozen package, and then there are wrinkle ones, right? So he didn't know which one is dominant, which one is recessive. Right? But I know now because like I learned about this stuff, and you know as well now that I tell you, round is a dominant. Okay, so he took plants that have round seed, and he observed them for many generations. Okay, he self-pollinated the plants, and he noticed this plant always produce round seed, and then he noticed another plant always produce wrinkle seed. So based on that observation, he concluded that the plants are pure. Okay, it's pure round seed and pure wrinkle seed because all the plants for many generations are always round and always wrinkle. Okay? If you have a plant that some generations are round seed, some generations are wrinkle seed, then it's not pure, right? Okay, so he observed it for many generations, and then he concluded that, okay, this plant is round all the time, so it's pure round. So big R, big R. And then over here, it is small r, small r. Okay. So again, when he did it, he didn't know which one is dominant. So it could have been like the other way around. It could have been small r here, and big R, right? In his mind, okay? But since we know round is dominant over wrinkle, we're gonna write it properly like that. So that's called the P generation, P for parent, okay? Parent generation. So when the round seed plant makes gamete, right, pollen, then the gametes will have big R, right? Half of it will have big R, the other half will also have big R. In other words, it's always big R, right? What about the wrinkle seed? What kind of gamete will the wrinkle seed produce? Yeah, small r, right? So this table here is called a Punnett square. Punnett square. And we use it to figure out the probability and the expected ratio of the first generation. So if this gamete carrying the big R fertilizes this gamete carrying a small r, then what would the offspring be? It would be one big R, one small r, right? And we always write the capital letter first, followed by, small letter if there is one. Similarly here, bring the big R down, small r over. Right here, I'll put the arrow for you so you can follow, for those of you who need to see it. Do you understand it is big R, small r for all the outcomes? Okay, it's like a multiplication table, right? So for the F1 generation, 100% will be big R, small r, which means 100% will have round C. What do we call this genetic makeup as opposed to the appearance? Which type is this? Genotype, yeah. And this one? Phenotype. Okay, so the ratio might be the same. It doesn't have to be, as you will see. Okay? So listen. If you take two individuals that are pure for a particular trait, and then you cross them, all the first generation, all the F1 generation will have the dominant trait. Okay? So what does that mean? Let's say over here. Okay, listen, this is very important for you to understand. Let's say I have two kind of mouse here. Okay. We have hold on a second. No, that's not what I want. There we go. Okay, we have a gray mouse, and then we have a white mouse. Okay. And for all intents and purposes, they are pure, right? Pure gray mouse, pure white mouse. Okay. And then you breed them, so they have babies. And then I notice all the babies, I don't know what you call baby mouse. All the baby are white. So what can you conclude? Which one is dominant? Is gray dominant or is white dominant? That's right. Because this would be big W, small w, small w. And then 100% will be big W, small w. Okay? So that's how you can figure out what trait is dominant and what trait is recessive. You start with two individuals who are pure, and then you cross them. Okay, the parents have to be pure for this to work. Otherwise, it's not going to work necessarily. Okay, so two pure parents across 100% of the offspring will have the dominant phenotype. Cross means breed, okay? Have babies. Are you guys with me? Okay, let's move on. Sorry, I'm missing a T here for the Punnett square, double T. Punnett square. Okay. So that's what he did. He did it for a bunch of traits, and then he found out what's dominant and what's recessive. He took a pure yellow plant, crossed it with a pure green plant, and then all the F1 have yellow seeds, so yellow is dominant over green. Right? Inflated pod is dominant over recessive pod, so on and so on. Okay. Then he continued his experiment. He's going to do another generation, but this time he took the plants from F1 and self-pollinate them. So you can pollinate plant just by taking a brush, picking up the pollen, and then touching the plant flower with it, right? Okay. So over here, these are from F1, which means their genotype would be big R, small r, right? Big R, small. So what kind of gametes will they produce? It doesn't matter which one you put where, okay? What's the gamete? One big R and one small r, right? And then same thing over here. Can you please complete the table? And when you finish the table, please write down the genotype and phenotype as well. Yeah, so we write the big first. Okay. Fine. Good. Thank you. Very good. Okay. So I think most of you have it. big R, right? Big R, small r. You just cross them together, okay? And see where your finger meets. Please write the capital before you write the small, okay? Like don't do it like that. Right? I mean, technically it's right, but nobody does it like that. Okay, so this is F2 generation, second generation from the P. And what is the genotype? Hmm? What percent is big R, big R? 1/4, that's right. Okay? Or 25%, right? Big R, big R. You guys learned percent already, right? In math. What about big R, small r? That's 2/4, right? 2/4, which is how many percent? 50%. Later on, we have real ratio like 3/8 and whatever. Then you can use your calculator. All right. You need your calculator for quiz 4, actually. And then over here for the last one, what is it? Okay, so they should add up to 100, right? That's the uh expected genotype. Okay, it's the what you would expect to happen. So that means we can also figure out the phenotype. Okay. So what trait are we looking at? What character are we looking at? Are we looking at the color of the seed? What are we looking at, guys? The shape, right? Is it round or is it wrinkle, right? Okay. So what percent do you expect to be round? 75, that's right? It's 3/4, right? Because look, this is round, right? How about this one? Round. 25 plus 50 is 75% round. Okay. You can answer in percent or fraction, whatever it's easier for you. And 25% wrinkle. That means if you produce 100 plants in the F2 generation, roughly 75 of them will have round seed and 25 of them will have wrinkle seed. Okay? This is called the 3-to-1 ratio. 3-to-1 ratio. And it happens whenever you have heterozygous parents. Okay, and then this answers your question, Angel. Both parents here are round, but they can produce a wrinkle offspring, right? Because they have the recessive allele, but it was covered up by the capital R, right? Okay, so even though we all have brown eyes, but we might have a hidden blue-eyed allele in our gene. Okay. My wife and I, we both have black hair, okay? My daughter has brown hair, right? So like we might have like a hidden brown hair recessive gene, right? People always ask, oh, did you dye her hair? I was like, no, she's born like that, okay? Free highlight, okay? So we might have like a hidden recessive allele in us. Okay. Okay. Now, another thing to keep in mind, these are just probabilities. Okay. It's like flipping a coin. 50% chance head, 50% chance tail, right? But if you flip it 10 times, you are not necessarily going to get exactly 5, right? 5 heads, 5 tails. Okay. If you do it for a longer period of time, like if we do 1,000 times, then maybe close to 500, but not necessarily exactly 500, right? So you're not going to necessarily get 75 and 25, but rough. Okay. All right. So that's the easy stuff, right? Now we have to solve the problems together, okay? Let me try to copy these over. Uh, all right, over here. I'll read it to you. If a red flower is dominant over a white flower for a certain type of orchid, write the genotype for the following flowers. Okay. So this question does not give you any letters. You have to make up your own. Like I said, when you choose the letter to represent the trait, you should choose the letter for the dominant trait to use, right? So according to the question, what letter should we use? Big R, that's right. And you should write this down on in the question when you're doing it on the test. Big R is what color? Red. And then what should I use for white color? I heard W, okay? Remember, do not use different letters for the dominant and recessive. That's how you get it wrong on the test. Okay? Always use the same. And please, for your sake and for my sake, because I have to mark them, don't use things like O, okay? Because I've seen it, people use O, and then on the test they get like nervous, and then like big O, small O, and I cannot tell anymore, okay? And then I just give them an O, okay? 0. So like, please choose the letter wisely. Now, homozygous red flower. What is homozygous red flower? What would the genotype be? What does homozygous means? Same or different? So what is homozygous red flower? Sorry, big R and big R, right? Okay. Okay, just quickly do the other three. Yeah, so usually they will tell you in the question. If they don't tell you explicitly like this, then there will be information that allows you to conclude that yourself. So for example, like the mouse example I gave you, I would say a pure white cross with a pure gray, and all of the offsprings are gray. Then you will know gray is dominant over white, right? Okay, homozygous white, what is it? Very good, small r, right? Okay. Yeah, what about heterozygous red? That's good. Heterozygous means different, right? Okay, what about heterozygous white? See, you guys are contradicting yourself. If you have big R, small r, is it red or is it white? It can only be one, right? What is it? Red, right? So this is not white. So what's heterozygous white? Not possible. Okay, not possible. Okay. It's like if I ask you to draw a circular square, not possible. It's contradictory. Right? And that actually is important. Right? Because on a test, if I give you this question and I say a heterozygous red flower is crossed with a white flower, okay? Listen carefully. If I say on the test a heterozygous, I'll just say hybrid. It's easier to spell. Hybrid red crossed with a white flower. You don't have to ask me what kind of white, right? Because there's only one way to be white, right? Which is what? Hybrid or pure? Pure. Right? So I don't have to tell you the condition for the white flower. You have to know, since it's recessive, it can only be little r, little. Okay? But I have to tell you about the red. Red, I have to tell you whether it's hybrid or pure, because there are two possibilities, right? Okay. Okay, we'll do one more question, and we'll take a break. Okay, you do it. I'm around, and if you need help. Yes, definitely. But first, write down the parent. When you are the parent. Okay, so you should write down the parents first. Right? You should write down something, something, cross, something, something. And that's the first thing I'm gonna mark on the quiz, right? And then I'm gonna mark your Punnett square, and I'm gonna mark your x. Parent, hybrid red, or hybrid red. Yeah, and that's cross. Cross what? Yeah, and then we fix it. Okay, yeah, that's good. Mark it in. And then now you do it. Yeah, it's not correct because that is hybrid red. So hybrid. That's right. Yeah, but write the cross here first, like our small r, cross, small r. So write down the parent. What's the parent? Something cross something. What is it? Yeah, this is yeah, what color is it?
Right.
Okay, so again, what's the genotype? So like we need a hybrid red. What's a hybrid red? Sorry, can you? Hybrid red. Yeah, big those. Big. But if it's big, it wouldn't be hybrid, right? There's a difference. Okay. Yeah, so if they're the same letter size, like big R, or small r, that's called pure. Okay. If it's different, one big, one small, then it's hybrid.
One big, one small.
Then it's hybrid.
Oh,
Okay. So what's a yeah? That's right. Cross. Cross. Not means heaven. There you go. Okay. And then that picture. You again. Yeah, that's good. That's okay. Okay. So hybrid red. What's hybrid red? Hybrid means same or different? Different. So hybrid red would be. Right. That's right. What about white? Small r small. So now cross means three. So big R small r cross small r small r. Okay. And now you're gonna have zero. Let's say this goes here. Big R. Right. And then how about here? What do we write? Small r and what? Again. Okay. You guys okay? Everybody? Yeah? What's the answer? Activity? Yeah. Very good. No, you haven't results. Got it. Yeah. So white. This is not white. Right. Yeah. And now, oh, the parrot. This is the parrot. That's the red parrot. That's the white parrot. So it's gonna be they are. Right, percent. You have it? Good. Yeah. Where the parrots? You're the right parrot. Yeah, that's right. That goes right out of Athena, you got it? You good, right? Okay, 50-50? Yeah, so you gotta write that 50-50 for the genotype. Because it asks you to take the phenotype and genotype. It's okay? Good. Okay, so hybrid red is big R, small r, cross white, which is small r. It's absolutely important that you make sure you have this right before you do the rest of the question. If this is wrong, everything else is wrong, right? Okay? Does everybody understand why I put big R, small r, and not big R? Why? Hybrid, okay? If I want you to put big R, what would I say? Pure. That's right. Okay. Pure or homozygous, same thing. Hybrid or heterozygous. Okay? Homo is the same, hetero is different. Right? Like homogeneous and heterogeneous, right? In chemistry mixture. And then you're gonna do your Punnett square. It doesn't matter which one goes where. You could put this one on the top or at the side. It's not gonna matter. Okay, so you do it like this. So genotype, 50% big R, small r, 50% small r. Okay? And then are we together? If I want to only make white flower plants, what parent should I breed together to guarantee white flower? If I want only white, then I take small r, and I cross it with another small r, right? In other words, if I have two white plants, they will always make white plants. Okay? That's not necessarily true for red plants. Because just by looking at the red plant, I do not know if it's pure red or hybrid red, right? If I have two hybrid red plants, then I will end up having 3-to-1 ratio. I will have 75% red and 25% white. Okay, you think about that. Okay, if you want a break, go for a break. Otherwise, do another one. We will resume at 9:35, I guess. Okay, example 3. Pure red is crossed with a white flower. Is this hybrid that automatically talking about development? No, it doesn't matter what one. Yeah, here's the question. Yeah, make sure you write the percentage to complete the question. All right. Yeah, right. Well, different. How can it be different in the same? Think about what the red is. 100%. Can they please write down? Yeah, there's only one way to be white, right? It's small r, right? Always the white is the white. The no okay. Fewer, yeah, that's right. If it's recessive, it's always fewer. Okay. Yeah. But like don't memorize white is always recessive because for flower color it is, or something else it may happen. Do you have it, Angela? Okay. So they are small r. 100%. You have it? Where is it? Keyword, what does keyword mean? Same, right? Keyword means same, right? Keyword means same. So it's a big argument. No, they have to go on the same plane. Yeah, so either both at the top or both on the side. Not one here, one there. Yeah. Okay, always write that. Yeah. Can I see the parent? You have the parent? Yes, very good. They put an X here. So that it reads, right? And then, yeah, there you go. Okay. Put this here. We can put that here, right? Percentage is this. We have to count. So 2 out of 4, right? 2 out of 4. So you do 2 divided by 4. Well, we don't know. We have to figure it out. Okay, you have to figure it out. Anybody have any questions? You got it? 100%? 100% red? Okay. All right. So I'm telling you what to include on the test to get full marks, okay? Something like this is probably like 3 marks, okay? So I need to see big R, cross small r, small r. Okay, so that's like, 0.5 marks right there. And then you need to have your Punnett square, right? Okay, make sure you put the parents. Here, I just put this here over here. Do you understand that? And that's going to be, okay, so that's 1 mark. And then you will have the genotype and then the phenotype. Okay, so genotype is going to be 100% big R, small r. And then phenotype will be 100% red. Okay, so this is like another 1.5 or something. Understand? So you have to have these 3 things for you to get full mark. Okay. Can you guys take more? Or is too much already? Yeah, a little more. Yeah, that's the right answer. All right, next we're gonna learn about pedigree. There will be one pedigree question on the quiz for sure. Okay? And I'll try my best to explain this to you, okay? But every year people get it wrong. So what's a pedigree? Let me write it down for you. Pedigree. Pedigree. Pedigree, which is family tree, okay? Family tree. Oops. Square is male. Circle is female. Okay. Sometimes you might see diamond, which means unknown. Okay. Like they might have a baby, but the baby hasn't been born yet, and we don't know if it's male or female. Diamond. Okay. This means to have kids. To have kids. Okay. Now, if it's empty, then it means they don't have the trait you are looking at. Okay. For a pedigree, you're usually studying one trait at a time. Okay. It might be a disease that you're studying. It might be just a trait that you're looking at. Okay. Maybe here we're looking at who has brown eye or something. Okay. In the whole family, there are only 3 people with brown eyes. It could be anything. Okay. So if it's shade in, then they have the trait. If it's not shade in, then they do not have the trait. Understand? Whatever the trait is. These Roman numerals, the one you use in chemistry for naming, these are generation. Okay, so first generation, second, third, fourth. These are people within that generation. So this person is 2, 3. 2, 3. Who is this? Yeah, 3, 4, right? We write the Roman numeral first and then the letter. Right? You understand? Yeah. Okay. So these are couples. Okay. How many kids do they have? 3 kids, right? And you follow the line. That's 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid, right? Okay. That's not their son. That's the son-in-law. Okay. So they marry and then they have more. They have more kids. Okay. 1 kid. Okay? This is another outsider, right? Not part of the family. We together? Okay, great. That's what you have to know for pedigree, at the very least. And then the question I'm gonna ask you, I just realized there's a typo. It's funny, you've been using these slides for a long time and nobody ever noticed, including myself, these errors. Okay, so determine whether the inheritance pattern is autosomal dominant or recessive. There are different kinds of inheritance pattern, okay? The trait can be dominant or it can be recessive, right? And it could be autosomal, or later on we will learn sex linked, right? Autosomal means the allele is carried on chromosome 1 to chromosome 22. Right? If something is sex linked, then it's either carry on X or carry on Y. Right? I will not ask you about sex-linked inheritance pattern in a pedigree question. In a pedigree question, your only job is to figure out whether it is dominant or recessive pattern. Okay? That's the only thing you have to tell. So let's take a look at this question. Do you think this pattern is dominant or recessive? Well, like you wouldn't know, right? Okay. So take a guess. Okay. Yell something out. Okay, I heard recessive. Fantastic. Let's pretend it is recessive. Okay. Recessive. Okay. Which means in order for them to have the trait, their genotype would have to be what? Let's use the letter A, okay? If this is a recessive condition, what must this person be in order to have the trait? Yeah, small a, right? Do you agree? Okay. Small a, small. Let me use recessive. Small a, small a. Well, how is that possible though? Neither of the parents have the trait. They're not shaded in, right? They don't have the trait. So how can two parents without the trait produce a child that has the trait? What would be the only explanation? The parents are hybrid, right? Okay, so the parents here must be big A, big A, small, right? So based on that, it's reasonable to conclude that this is recessive, okay? But just to be sure, let's try to explain this with dominance. Okay. Watch and listen. This is very important for you to get that question right on the test. If this is a dominant inheritance pattern, what can you say about individual 2, 3? What must his genotype be? He must have a capital A, right? Okay. But we are not sure whether the other half is also capital A or if it's a small a, right? They have the trait. If it's dominant, they might be big A, or big A, small a, right? And now listen. If they have one big A, that means the big A must have came from one of the parents, right? One of the parents. So let's say it came from the dad, right? Has the big A and something. And if it's a dominant condition, if the dad has a big A, the dad would be shaded in as well. But he's not, right? So that means the dad doesn't have the big A. Well, could the big A came from the mother then? No, because if the mother had the big A, and this is a dominant trait we're looking at, the mother would also be shaded in, right? Which means it is impossible for this to be a dominant inheritance pattern. Okay. One more time. I know. I'm trying my best here. Look, this kind of situation where the parents do not have the trait, the parents do not have the trait, but the child does, okay, or at least one of the children does, then it's not possible for this to be a dominant pattern. Because for this to be a dominant pattern, the capital A has to come from one of the parent, right? And if it did come from one of the parent, then the parent would have had the same trait, right? And we do not see that. That means it is not dominant. Okay, let me type that out for you. If two parents do not have the trait and at least one of their children has it, then it cannot be. Okay, then it would be a recessive pattern. Okay, so you're looking for this. This is a giveaway. If we are only given two options, if it's only dominant or recessive, and you see this, then it is definitely recessive. Okay? You need to work it out yourself. You need to understand why this is not dominant. Look, let me give you a concrete example. If both parents are blue eyes, okay, is it possible for them to have a brown eye child based on what we talked about? If both parents are blue eyes, is it possible for them to have a brown eye child? Brown is dominant over blue, in case you forgot. No, right? Okay. If the parents are blue eyed, they are little b, right? And all the kids will be little b, right? So the fact that we have a brown eye child, right, means the parents, like this is not a recessive pattern because you have to inherit the trait from the parent, right? We'll do some more practice. Okay, copy this out, please. Or ask me something, okay? Like, tell me what's puzzling.
If, if the, this will that automatically mean it's dominant?
Okay, that's a good question, right? Like, what if it's like this? What if one parent has it, the other doesn't, and then the kid has it, right? Like, what does that mean? Well, that's a little bit harder to tell. Based on this alone, we cannot tell whether it's dominant or recessive. It could be explained by both situations. Okay. All right, we're gonna do another one here, guys. You will have one of these on the test. All right, so you must understand it. Like, the previous quiz, which I cannot give back yet because some people still have to write it. I told you there will be the fill in the blanks, but I thought it was gonna be the good section, but a lot of people do poorly. Like, is it just too much to memorize, or like, did you guys not know where to find the answer? Like, I want to know so I can help you in the future. Like, did you guys not able to find the answer for the study guide? Too much? Too much? Oh, you expect to have the word bank? Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. I don't know. I'll think about how to help you for the next one. Okay, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this. Do you think this is dominant or do you think this is recessive? Okay, dominant or recessive. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Let's say this is recessive. Okay. Is it recessive? Well, let's find out. If it's recessive, then what must this be? Again, we're using the letter A. Small a, right? We all agree? Yeah. Then how about the mom? Small a, right? If that's the case, what must happen for all the kids? All small a, right? But look, we have a son, they have a son. That's not small a, right? So it's not recessive. Right? Because if it's recessive, everybody in the family will have the same thing. Okay? And I only give you two choices, recessive or dominant. So this must be dominant. Okay? I used to do all the cases and it was just disaster. So now I only give you two choices. Okay? So on the test, you have to do three things for me. Number one, tell me what the pattern is. Number two, tell me why you think is that, okay? And the two thing has to agree, right? Sometimes people guess one thing and then the explanation doesn't match, then you don't get marks. And number three, I'm gonna ask you the genotype of a particular person. Okay. So let's say so it is dominant, we established that. So it's not like that. Then this person must be big A, small a, and big A, small a, right? Okay. They cannot be big A, big A. Because if they are both big A, then everybody will be big A, right? Right? The fact that they have a child that doesn't have the condition means they must be heterozygous. Okay. And then this person is going to be small a, small a. The son and the daughter, we don't know. We don't actually know. We know they have one big A, but then we cannot say for certain what the other one is. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. So she's asking, can these parents be big A, and big A, small a? What do you guys think? Yes or no? Based on the pedigree. Quickly do the Punnett square and find out. Okay, quickly do it. Do the Punnett square. If you do the Punnett square, you will see that. What's the percent? It's 100% dominant trait, right? Whatever the trait is. So that means it's not possible because they have a son that does not have it, right? Okay. And if it's this combination, they will never create a child that's small a, right? Does that answer your question? Okay. So back to here. If you see this, then it must be recessive. If you see, if you see, if you see this, I mean the kid doesn't matter. The kid can be daughter or son, okay? If two parents have the trait and at least one of the children does not have it, then it would be dominant. All right. Again, this is only if I give you two choices. Autosomal dominant or autosomal recessive. Another feature that you might notice is, I'll go back to there, okay? For the dominant one, it tends to persist in generations, and more people have it. And whereas the recessive case, it tends to skip generations, and less people have it. Okay, which again should make sense to you. Okay. All right, time to put this to a test. I'll let you guys finish copying first. There are 3 pedigree questions in the study guide. If you can take a look at it. I think it's on the second page. And this is the last thing we're gonna do, okay? And then we can finish the class. There are 3 families here. Using what I taught you, please figure out which one is dominant, which one is recessive. We did already, huh? Very people. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, but then can you figure out the individual phenotypes? Because that's what question happened, right? Or as many of them as possible. Okay. Right here, there's another one that you got the other one. The first one, the digital record. The digital record. Okay, that one. Let me get that up. You don't have to do this. You just try to figure out if this is dominant or recessive. So the parents don't have it, but one of their children has trait. If it's dominant or recessive. That's right. Okay, and you have to understand why, okay? And then figure out. That's right, exactly. I mean, this one we don't know. This one is just gonna be big A and but that kind of yeah. It couldn't be dominant. If it was dominant, then they would have a big A here, right? Which means one of the parents would also have a big A and it was shaping. But they are not shaping. It's not. Yeah, so you can go for everything. Like, for example, over here, and these are the parents, right? These parents, exactly. These parents have it and they don't. And they might be wrong. Like this is another family, right? And don't have it, but that is sick. We cannot say for certain, so we can try to what we need to happen. That's well, not necessarily the first generation, like it could be like later on as well. Right? Yeah, here, yeah, so this is one family, this is and then you gotta write the big A small A, right? Okay, what's the first one? Almond, okay, so look at the top, right? Of the parents, you understand? Okay, leave. What does it say? Recessive? Yeah, that's right. And then you gotta figure it, yeah, so who's it, what is it? That's right, but then you gotta fill in the allele, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, first one dominant or recessive. That's what you have to write out, right? Okay. Okay, if you're done, then that's it. But it's very important that you practice. Okay, you should do these questions. Monohybrid. That's what the problems are called because we are tracking one gene at a time. Okay, like red flower, white flower, black eyes, brown eyes, blue eyes. That's one trait. They're called monohybrid problems. You should do all of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. On Monday, we will start tracking dihybrid cross, two traits. All right, and that's like significantly harder than monohybrid. Okay, the answers are at the end here. All right, you can also look at the. I don't know. Hold on a second. Let me see if I have the study guide answers. Yeah, if you open the study guide answers, I worked it out for you. Okay, so you can check your Punnett square and things like that. Okay. Uh, the answer over here. If you're still not sure where to find them, give me a second. Just go to content, and then study guide answers, right? And then I actually turn on all of them already for the rest of the course. All right, so you have it. And if you need to watch me explain it, remember there is the video. It's like an old recording. Okay? Okay, thank you. See you Monday.